I spent 20 years building wealth, 20 years optimizing every decision for maximum financial return, 20 years convinced that money was the solution to everything. And then the disease came first, before retirement, before I could enjoy any of it, before I even understood what I'd sacrificed to get here. My name is Vanessa Chen. I was a hedge fund manager in Miami, and this is the story of how I won the money game and lost everything that actually mattered. If you're wondering what happens when the finish line disappears, when your body quits before your career does, when all that wealth becomes completely irrelevant overnight, hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't about inspiration, it's about the brutal truth nobody warns you about when you're grinding toward financial freedom. I wanted independence. That's what money meant to me from the very beginning. Growing up in a household where my parents argued about every purchase, where financial stress poisoned every conversation, I swore I'd never be trapped like that. Never dependent on anyone, never vulnerable to the terror of an empty bank account. So I studied economics, got my MBA from Wharton, learned to read markets the way some people read novels. I wanted enough money to never feel that childhood fear again, to never be controlled by scarcity, to be completely, utterly free. The journey started at a boutique fund in New York right after business school. I was 24, hungry, willing to outwork everyone in the room. I'd arrive at 5:30 in the morning to analyze Asian markets before anyone else woke up, stay until midnight building positions, studying patterns, learning to see opportunity in volatility. I was exceptional at it. By 26, I was managing a $40 million portfolio. By 28, I'd generated returns that put me on the radar of larger firms. The money started coming. Real money. 6-figure bonuses that turned into 7 figures. Headhunters calling with offers I couldn't refuse. At 30, I moved to Miami to run a specialized fund focused on emerging markets. My compensation package hit $2 million annually. I bought a condo in Brickell with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, started building a portfolio of real estate investments, hired a financial advisor to manage the money that was accumulating faster than I could track it. I was doing exactly what I'd set out to do, building wealth, creating security, eliminating every trace of that childhood fear. The climb continued. At 32, I launched my own fund with backing from investors who trusted my track record. By 35, I was managing $300 million in assets. My personal net worth crossed $8 million. I worked constantly. Weekends didn't exist. Vacations were just different locations to check my phone from. Every relationship became transactional, every friendship faded because I couldn't commit to anything that didn't generate returns. I stopped dating entirely because intimacy required time I didn't have and emotional availability I'd trained myself to suppress. My entire identity became my performance, my worth measured in basis points and annual returns. And I was winning, consistently, year after year. The money kept growing. At 38, I hit 10 million in liquid assets. At 40, 12 million. I should have felt successful, accomplished, free from every fear I'd carried since childhood. But instead, I just felt tired, deeply, fundamentally tired in a way that sleep never fixed. I ignored it, blamed the work, the stress, the constant pressure to perform. I told myself I'd rest later, after the next quarter, after the next big win, after I hit 15 million. There was always a next milestone. Always another reason to push through the exhaustion. Then my hands started trembling, just slightly at first, barely noticeable. But it got worse. Dropped my phone twice in 1 week, spilled coffee during a client meeting, started having trouble typing, my fingers not quite responding the way they should. I told myself it was stress, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. I scheduled a physical just to check the box, expecting the doctor to tell me to take a vacation. Instead, she referred me to a neurologist. The neurologist ordered tests, MRI, blood work, nerve conduction studies. And then she sat me down in her office with that look doctors get when they're about to destroy your life. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, progressive, degenerative, fatal. Average life expectancy after diagnosis, 2 to 5 years. There is no cure, no treatment that stops it. Just a slow, inevitable loss of muscle function until your body can't move, can't swallow, can't breathe. I sat there listening to her explain the progression, the timeline, the reality of what was coming, and all I could think was, I have $12 million. I'm 42 years old and none of it matters. All that money I'd accumulated, all those years of sacrifice and 80-hour weeks and choosing spreadsheets over human connection, and my body was failing anyway. The disease didn't care about my net worth, didn't care that I'd optimized my entire existence for financial success. It was coming regardless, and money couldn't stop it, couldn't slow it, couldn't buy me more time. I thought about my 20s and 30s, the years I'd spent alone in offices and hotel rooms, building wealth instead of relationships. The friends I'd ghosted because they wanted to get drinks on a Tuesday, and I had markets to watch. The family gatherings I'd skipped because work was more important. The romantic relationships I'd sabotaged because I couldn't make space for anyone in a life dedicated entirely to money. I'd traded everything for financial security, and now I had all this money and no time left to use it. No one to share it with. No memories worth having because I'd been too busy accumulating wealth to actually live. The disease was going to take my body piece by piece. And I'd already given away everything else voluntarily. The symptoms progressed exactly like the neurologist predicted. Within 6 months, I couldn't type anymore. Had to use voice to text for everything. Walking became difficult. I started using a cane. Had to hire a driver because I couldn't trust my hands on the wheel. I tried to keep working, but my body was making that impossible. I'd be in meetings and my leg would start spasming. I'd be on calls and my speech would slur from fatigue. The disease was stripping away my ability to do the only thing I'd defined myself by for 2 decades. I couldn't be the hedge fund manager anymore, couldn't be the high performer, couldn't be the woman who sacrificed everything for money because money was supposed to make everything okay. And it didn't. It did nothing. I had millions sitting in accounts I'd never spend. Real estate I couldn't enjoy. Investments that kept growing while my body kept failing. The numbers went up. My function went down, and the cruel irony of it crushed me every single day. I'd spent 20 years chasing financial freedom, and when the disease came, I realized I'd never been free at all. I'd been a prisoner of my own ambition, a slave to the belief that money could solve problems it was never designed to solve. I'd built this enormous fortress of wealth to protect myself from fear and vulnerability, and the disease walked right through it like it wasn't even there. Because money can't protect you from mortality, can't insulate you from the fundamental fragility of being human. I'd learned that lesson in the worst possible way. The grief hit me in waves that felt like drowning. Not grief for my health, though that was there too. Grief for all the years I'd wasted, all the moments I'd sacrificed for money that now felt completely meaningless. I'd see old photos of myself at family weddings I'd attended between conference calls, standing in the corner checking my phone while everyone else danced. I'd remember birthday dinners I'd rushed through to get back to work, trips I'd taken alone because I couldn't commit to sharing time with anyone. Every memory was contaminated by the same realization. I chose money over that moment, over that person, over life itself. And now that I wanted those moments back, wanted those people back, it was too late. The disease was here. Time had run out. I tried reaching out to people I'd pushed away, college friends I hadn't spoken to in 15 years, family members I'd treated like obligations instead of people. Most of them were kind when I called, shocked by the diagnosis, sympathetic, but there was distance there, a gap I'd created by choosing money over connection again and again until the connection died. You can't resurrect intimacy with a terminal diagnosis. Can't expect people to suddenly prioritize you when you spent decades making it clear they weren't your priority. I'd made my choices, and the consequences were isolation. I had $12 million and no one who really knew me. No one who'd been there for the journey because I'd never let anyone close enough to join me. Looking back now, from this place where my body is betraying me and the disease is winning, I can see exactly where I went wrong. I treated money like it was the point. Like accumulating wealth was the goal instead of just a tool. I optimized for financial returns and completely ignored the return on life, on time, on relationships, on being present for moments that money can't buy back. My parents didn't have much money, but they had Sunday dinners together every single week. They had friends they'd known for 40 years. They had a marriage built on showing up for each other consistently, not occasionally when it was convenient. They were richer than I ever was, and they never broke 6 figures combined, because they understood something I didn't. Wealth isn't just money, it's time with people you love, it's memories you build together, it's showing up consistently for the small moments that become the big moments when you look back. I missed all of that. I was so terrified of being poor that I made myself rich and alone. And when the disease came, when I needed people most, I discovered I'd spent 20 years building a fortune and 0 years building a life worth living. The money is still here. Growing in accounts I'll never empty, but I'm 43 now, using a wheelchair. My speech is getting harder. The disease is taking everything piece by piece, and all that money means absolutely nothing. It can pay for care, for comfort, for the best medical treatment available, but it can't give me back the 20 years I spent chasing it. Can't give me back the relationships I destroyed. Can't give me back the life I could have lived if I hadn't been so obsessed with financial security that I sacrificed every other kind of security that actually matters. Build your wealth, secure your future. There's nothing wrong with financial ambition, but don't make the mistake I made. Don't trade your entire life for money. Don't sacrifice the people and moments that make life meaningful for a number in an account. Because here's what I learned too late. The disease doesn't wait. Death doesn't wait. Time doesn't care about your retirement plan or your net worth target. It just runs out. And when it does, the only thing that matters is what you did with it. Who you loved. Who loved you? What moments you were present for. I spent 20 years chasing money, and the disease came first, before I could enjoy it. Before I could use it for anything meaningful. Before I understood that money was never the goal. It was supposed to enable life, not replace it. And I got that backwards. Spent 2 decades building wealth while my life atrophied. Now I'm here, wealthy and dying, rich and alone, successful by every metric I used to care about, and completely, devastatingly aware that I optimized for the wrong thing. That money was always just money, and life was always what actually mattered.